Welcome back to the weekly update. Every week, I sit down, I break down exactly what happened in the business, real revenue, real expenses, real profit, no fluff, no fake numbers. My name is Marvell Martin, and this is the road to 1 mil a month. So this week we took a loss. Revenue dropped all the way down to 3,100 for like the whole week, and we ended the week in red. But I'm actually not worried at all because I know exactly why it happened, and I had to intentionally pause the store, and we still deployed over 27K in capital on new products. So I'm going to show you the exact numbers, why the machine broke, and how we're fixing it right now. So let's get into it. All right, so episode 3. Let's take a look at the main damage, really. So revenue this week was $3,150.27. That's a steep drop from the past 2 weeks. And I'll explain exactly why in the update section. But let's run through the cost. Amazon fees, 812. Cost of goods sold, around 2K. Shipping, 167. Fulfillment, $202. Adjustments, that's negative 177. Supplies, 87. And then software, 386 bucks. And VA pay actually jumped up to around $1,200. So when you run the math, we took a net loss this week of like roughly 2K. So ROI is negative around 39%, like negative 39%. Now, if you're looking at this 1 week, it looks bad. But remember, the sales cycle in this business is delayed. So you spend money today, you don't see the return for 2 to 3 weeks. So we spend heavily in weeks 1 and 2. And the VA and software costs reflect a team that is actively building the pipeline, right? Also, cumulative profit since we started hasn't really changed since last week all that much. I mean, the machine is running. The revenue just hasn't caught up to the operational spend just yet. Now, that being said, even with the store paused, we still deployed roughly 27K into new inventory this week. And that's capital that will show up as revenue in the coming weeks. When it comes to VA performance, we narrowed down the team. But I want to highlight our top performer. So pretty much they had submitted 27 leads. Their name is Jan, by the way. 27 leads, out of those, 11 were qualified. So that's around like a 41% accuracy rate, which is solid. And then from those 11, that's around $1,700 in profit potential locked in, which is great. And that's one VA 1 week, nearly 1,800 in future profit secured off of like 100, 200 bucks in what we paid them essentially. Now, why did revenue even drop in the first place? Okay, so here's the biggest update, which is I had to pause the store. So we had like major fulfillment issues primarily. The pickups from one of our like inventory locations were completely inconsistent, so packages weren't moving. And in this business, if you cannot fulfill reliably, that's a big problem, right? If you can't fulfill, like that's an issue. So rather than risk the account health and the customer experience, I pretty much paused the inventory from that location until we got it sorted out. The second update, and this is massive for the future of the business. I opened 3 new brand direct accounts this week, which I was talking about last week. So this is us going straight to the source, pretty much cutting out the middleman and opening up profit margins that you just can't get with standard OA. And then the third update, we've officially narrowed the sourcing team down to like a solid 10 VAs. And I also promoted one of the top VAs to directly handle purchasing for OA. And I'm completely removing myself from like the day-to-day clicking and buying. Eventually, that's going to take some weeks of training, but that's the end goal, and that's what's going to happen, which is amazing, right? So lessons learned. Let's just jump right into it. So number one, when you're hiring VAs, you have to set your standards early. Like you can't be vague about what you expect. That's super important. If you want high quality leads, your criteria has to be crystal clear from day one. So that's one thing that I took away from this most recent week. Number two, you need to optimize before you can delegate. So before you can hire somebody to do a task, make sure the process itself is as efficient as possible. Okay, your job really is to make their job very easy to execute. So don't hire someone to navigate a broken system unless you're hiring somebody for that specific role of fixing a problem, right? Which in this case, I'm not. Now, number three, fulfillment is the ultimate bottleneck. Like you can have the best VAs, the best leads, and the most capital, but if the boxes don't move, you literally cannot make money, period. So those are the main 3 takeaways from this week. Um, and I mean, it's looking good going into, the future. When it comes to the overall game plan, the goal right now is pretty simple, which is just bulletproof the infrastructure. So we're not scaling the team anymore right now. We're just stopping to fix the pipes before we push more water through them. You know what I mean? We're just fixing the fulfillment by moving entirely to pretty much solving that problem with the pickup, right? Because that was like one main issue for this week. That's literally why we had to stop the entire store, which is pretty much going to be solved this week, which is a good thing. Second, the purchasing bottleneck is solved. So I set up like another bank account. It's called Mercury, but it's fully operational and the payment blocks are fully gone. And it's a lot better when it comes to like making a lot of purchases for high amount, large amounts, and things of that sort. So I don't anticipate we're going to be running into any issues. Like for example, like my bank right now, that the primary banks that I've been using, like I can't even fucking buy anything right now, which is crazy. Like, bro, like I could be stranded. Like I'm out of the country right now. Like I could be stranded and like I need to like spend. I need to access my bank or use my debit cards or credit cards, and I'm done, bro. I'm screwed. So that's not a good thing. But I went ahead and set that up fully, so that's good. And then third, we're pausing hiring, so I have 10 solid VAs. My focus really just maximizing the ROI of this specific team, and then turning those locked in profits into actual cash and money in my pocket, which is super important. And then finally, we're managing cash flow, right? When you scale fast, you're pretty much front loading your cost. So you pay the VAs today, you buy the software today, but you end up getting paid in 2 to 3 weeks, right? When you actually see a return on that investment. Also, the inventory too. You purchase the inventory today, you don't get that return for 2 to 3 weeks. So you have to scale accordingly. And that's about it. That's episode 3. We took a hit on the P&L, but the infrastructure is stronger today than it was a week ago, and it's only going to get stronger. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see how these numbers flip when the 27K we deployed this week actually hits the store. Make sure to comment if anything stood out or if you have any questions or anything of the sort. And make sure to like the video if you liked it. And that's about it. I'll see you next time. Peace.